Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Sad Goswamis of Vrindavan ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gunityananda Shri Advaita Giradhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki Shri Shri Kishore Kishori ki Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Shri Shri Gunitai ki Yunamayi ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani ki Advaita Bhakta Vrinda ki Nitai Gaur Prem. All glory to the Son of the Devotees. All glory to the Son of the Devotees. All glory to the Son of the Devotees.
Speak to our spiritual master.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि जय राम माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राम माधवा कुंज विहारी गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजनरंजन यशोदानंदन हृदयानंदन यशोदानंदन हृदयानंदन यमुनातीरावनचारि 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय. हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, Chapter 15, check verse 16. Tasmadivam gramya pashor mamudhadhiya prabhu andhe tamasi magnasya jnana deepa udiryatam. Tasmadivam gramya pashor mama mudhadhiya prabhu andhe tamasi magnasya jnana udiryatam. Tasmadivam gramya pashor mama mudhadhiya prabhu andhe tamasi magnasya jnana udiryatam. Yakshmayuvam gramya pashor mama mudhadhiya prabhu andhe tamasi magnasya jnana udiryatam. Kasmadivam gramya pashor mama mudhadhiya prabhu andhe tamasi magnasya jnana udiryatam. Mataji's. Tasmadivam gramya pashor mama mudhadhiya prabhu andhe tamasi magnasya jnana udiryatam. Tasmat, therefore, yuvam, both of you, gramya pasho, of an animal like a hog, pig, or dog. Mama me mudha dhiyah, who am very foolish due to having no spiritual knowledge. Prabhu, O my two lords, andhe, in blind, tamasi, darkness, magnasya, of one who is absorbed, jnanadipaha, the torchlight of knowledge, udiryatam, let it be ignited. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Because you are great personalities, you can give me real knowledge. I am as foolish as a village animal, like a pig or dog, because I am merged in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, please ignite the torch of knowledge to save me. Purport. This is the way to receive knowledge. One must submit oneself at the lotus feet of great personalities who can actually deliver transcendental knowledge. It is therefore said, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyesha Jignyashu Shreya Uttamam. Srimad Bhagvatam, 11th Canto, 3rd chapter, text 21. One who is inquisitive to understand the highest goal and benefit of life must approach a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. Only one who is actually eager to receive knowledge to eradicate the darkness of ignorance, only one who is actually eager to receive knowledge to eradicate the darkness of ignorance is eligible to approach a guru or spiritual master. The guru should not be approached for material benefits. One should not approach a guru just to cure some disease or receive some miraculous benefit. This is not the way to approach the guru. Tadvijnanartham. One should approach the guru to understand the transcendental science of spiritual life. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are many bogus gurus who display magic to their disciples, and many foolish disciples want to see such magic for material benefits. These disciples are not interested in pursuing spiritual life to save themselves from the darkness of ignorance. It is said, Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. This gives the definition of the Guru. Everyone is in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, everyone needs to be enlightened with transcendental knowledge. One who enlightens his disciple and saves him from rotting in the darkness of ignorance in this material world is a true Guru. Om Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam bhangum lankhayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Srimad Bhagavatam, beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam, early in the morning. So we're reading chapter 15. The chapter is entitled The Two Sages, Angira Rishi and Narada Muni instruct King Chitraketu. So we are all aware of the crisis that has engulfed Maharaj Chitraketu and his entourage. And in such a situation, Narada Muni and Angira Rishi, they both arrive in his palace and they begin instructing him, very beautifully. Angira Rishi and Narada Muni both. And as Maharaj Chitraketu hears these instructions, he is pacified. Not only is he pacified, all that is troublesome to the heart is removed. But then he's also seeing great hope. He's seeing great hope. So I'd like to just read this beautiful how Maharaj Chitraketu, how he receives the instructions of these two great personalities. So we already read these verses, but just to refresh our memories. Because Prabhupada writes in the purport, this is how you receive great personalities. So how does Maharaj Chitraketu receive this? See the verse 10. King Chitraketu said, you have both come here dressed like avadhutas, liberated persons, just to cover your identities. But I see that of all men, you are the most elevated in awareness. You know everything as it is, therefore, you are the greatest of all great personalities. So, this is the first verse that Chitraketu speaks. Then he says, Brahmanas who are exalted to the position of Vaishnavas, the most dear servants of Krishna, sometimes dress like madmen. People call our bed sheets and kurtas dressed like madmen. Brahmanas were exalted to the position of Vaishnavas, the most dear servants of Krishna, sometimes dressed like madmen, just to benefit materialists like us, who are always attached to sense gratification. And just to dissipate our ignorance, these Vaishnavas wander on the surface of the globe according to their desire. And then we read yesterday's verse. He is quoting all these great personalities and how he's telling how Angira Rishi and Narada Muni, they are following in the footsteps, or they are also among these great personalities. And then now he continues today's verse. Because you are great personalities, you can give me real knowledge. I am as foolish as a village animal, like a pig or dog, because I am merged in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, please ignite the torch of knowledge to save me. So, the quality that we see here in Maharaj Parik Chitraketu, there are many amazing qualities, but one of them is humility, dainya. So, there are 6 limbs of surrender. Dainya Atmanivedana, Dainya Atmanivedana, then accepting those things that are favorable for Krishna, rejecting those things that are unfavorable for Krishna, considering Krishna as one's maintainer and then also one's protector. So, dainya, humility. So, this is the most essential quality. You know, if one wants to approach God, if one wants to approach God through his representatives, this is the fundamental qualities. Of course, it has to be there in a seed-like stage, and then by practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, the real humility, on the spiritual platform, that will manifest. In essence, humility is, Prabhupada says, Krishna is great, I'm insignificant, I'm tiny. So this is the hallmark of a Vaishnava, the quality humility. And this is not dependent on one's, janma, aishwarya, shrutashri. Typically in this material world, we will see that to the degree one has some opulences, to that degree, usually humility does not manifest. One is proud, or one thinks one is very significant. But then in our acharyas, we see this quality demonstrated. We can begin, with Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami, he was, very elevated personality, even materially. He knew, 6 languages. He was the home minister, or the finance minister of Nawab Hussain Shah. So he had it all. And people were worshipping him, like a great personality. But then when he met Lord Chaitanya the first time, he said, everybody worships me as a great personality, but I don't even know who am I. And it is mentioned, he, with a straw between his teeth, he offers obeisances to Lord Chaitanya, and he takes a shelter. And he says, you please instruct me. I don't even know who am I. That's one example. Sanatan Goswami, Maharaj, Prataparudra, who was the king of Orissa, South India. his eagerness to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya would not see, kings. Kings are usually considered materialistic, but so he refused to meet him. But his eagerness and his, intensity eventually, of course, there were many devotees also involved, but it melted the heart of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave him his mercy. You know, so these are people who were greatly qualified, and then there are other personalities, like Mrigari. Usually I read stories to my young son every day, at night, and so one of his favorite pastimes is Mrigari, and he asks me, how did he change? How did he change? Initially, he was scared to even read that book, the hunter killing animals and all that. But Sambrigari, he was, a very sinful personality. But then, when Narada Muni he approached him, somehow, of course, one can say out of fear, he surrendered to Narada Muni. However, he surrendered, but he approached Narada Muni and he said, "Tell me what I should do. I'm ready to follow what you say." Hmm? So, anyway, the whole spectrum is available. People who are most qualified in terms of materially, people who have no good qualities materially. You know. This is a requirement. Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita 2.7, where Arjuna he surrenders unto Krishna. He says the material world is designed in such a way that it will perplex everybody. It perplexes everybody. And everybody should approach a bona fide spiritual master. So here, Maharaj Chitraketu, very beautifully, he's approaching these two great personalities. And like many of our acharyas also, exhibit their mood of humility. He's saying, you can give me real knowledge. I'm as foolish as a village animal, like a pig or dog. So some of the prayers that we recite in the Mangala Charana, right? What is that beautiful verse? Mama Manda Matergati Matsarva Sapadam Bhojau Sri Radha Madana Mohano. So same Sanatana Goswami says, Mama Manda Matergati, my intelligence is dull. And I approach you, Sri Madan Mohan, same Sanatana Goswami, same mood. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his writings, before he begins to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this humility, this quality is very, very essential to at least have a drop in the initial stages, enough that we can, submit ourselves to Vaishnavas and then take up the process of devotional service. And then as we nurture, you know, the process of devotional service, as we water the seed, the humility, the true humility will manifest. So here he's saying, I'm like a village animal, like a pig or a dog, because I'm merged in the darkness of ignorance. So, as Acharya Nishta Prabhu nicely explained yesterday, animal life basically means four propensities: ahar, nidra, bhaya, maithunamcha, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And they are absorbed, they are merged in it. And here King Chitraketu is saying, I'm, magnasya, I'm absorbed in these, propensities: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, like an animal. But what distinguishes, as Prabhu explained yesterday, what distinguishes the human being from the animal is that human being has a higher intelligence, consciousness to inquire, athato brahma jigyasa. Human form of life begins when one inquires, who am I? Hmm? So here he's saying that I'm just absorbed in these mundane affairs on the bodily platform. But then he's submitting himself and he says that you have got what it takes, like he expressed even earlier, to great personalities. You see things as they are, you know things as they are. Uh, you can dispel this darkness. So I'm surrendering unto you. So this Brahma Jigyasa, Athata Brahma Jigyasa, one cannot attain self-realization by oneself. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master, as Prabhupada here is writing beautifully. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jignyashu Shreya Uttama. Prabhupada again and again he writes, so having a spiritual master is not like a fashion. My neighbor has a dog, so I'll also have a dog. And so somebody has a spiritual master, so I'll also have a spiritual master. One who is really serious about Brahma Jigyasa, who am I, who is Krishna, what is my relationship with him, how to awaken it, they should approach bona fide spiritual master. Like as Prabhu was explaining yesterday, one has to be practically, famished, materially famished or frustrated, one can say, or finished, for us to receive this great gift. Like Queen Kunti mentions, right? Only one who are materially famished, they can actually feelingly chant the holy names of the Lord, or they can feelingly take to the process of devotional service. As he was explaining, if we have hopes that we can, find happiness in through other avenues, then it's not enough impetus for us to put all the eggs in one basket, as they say, in the basket of devotional service. So, uh, uh, so this for yeah. So tasmat gurum prapadeta jignashu shreyatthama. So one who is wants to end the repeated cycle of birth and death, or re-establish their relationship with Krishna, God, they should approach Krishna. I mean, the spiritual master. And Prabhupada also here writes. So there are many, many bogus gurus, and there are bogus disciples also. It's like a contract, it's a marriage. But then, if one is really sincere, if the living entity is sincere, then Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Beach. He will get the pure message, pure personalities. So the onus lies on us. It depends on what we want. If we want diamond, then we will get a diamond. Of course, one has to have some preliminary idea of what a diamond is. So either one has to know that themselves, or one has to have faith in some others who know what a diamond is. And then one can get a diamond. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam satataiva bhajamiham. So if somebody wants, you know, devotional service, pure devotional service, they will get it. Why? Because here is a great example. Because these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, they are saying that such great personalities, the Vaishnavas, they are circumambulating. They are, going around up and down the universe to reclaim conditioned souls. So the real deal, the real thing is there. It's not that it's not there. Yeah, there are many other cheating things also, but the real deal is there. And if somebody wants it, Krishna is there in the heart of all living entities, then he will guide, you know, that living entity, and he will guide the personalities, the Vaishnavas, and they will connect. Krishna is there, as Acharya Nishtapur was saying yesterday. Krishna is not there just in Goloka Vrindavan, playing his flute, but he is there personally. He is making all arrangements to fulfill the desires of the living entity. So if somebody wants to again connect with him, why will he not do it? Like the two birds sitting on the tree. One bird is busily eating the fruits, and the other bird is waiting for the bird to turn. When will he turn? And as soon as he turns, he's there. And then he may turn again and get busy with his thing, but he's still there. So Krishna is there. He is there as a Paramatma in our material sojourn. He is there in every life form. whatever we take. So he's always there. And so when a living entity, he is again ready to act in his relationship with the Supreme Lord, then he sends his emissaries, Vaishnavas. Hmm. Vaishnavas are of different grades. So initially, somehow or the other, one may come in contact with, Vaishnava. May not be on the topmost platform, but they come in contact with the Vaishnava, and they receive a book or some information, and that's how the devotional journey begins. And then eventually, one has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada writes in Act of Instruction, that uh, even a Madhyamadhikari, he cannot take, the living entity, the disciple, he cannot take the aspiring devotee all the way to the topmost platform. He has to connect the living entity who is aspiring to a pure devotee. So there are different levels of Vaishnavas, and they are all merciful. They all play a role in our devotional service. So that's how devotional service begins. So the Vaishnavas, then they engage the living entity in the process of bhakti, right? Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, and then so on and so forth. And as our scriptures mention, this transcendental knowledge that is being talked about here, this is the transcendental knowledge is one can say um, is a byproduct of bhakti. वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योग प्रयोजतः जनयति आशु वैराग्यम ज्ञानम च यद अहेतुकम. So the living entity who somehow comes in contact with the devotees, they begin to perform devotional service. There is some sambandha gyan. We were having this discussion last week. There is some preliminary sambandha gyan, you know, and that sambandha gyan is enough to begin the process of devotional service, and then they practice the process of devotional service. Abhideya. And as it is mentioned in our Guru Vandana prayers, Prema Bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinasha jate. So factually, ignorance is uprooted from the root when Prema Bhakti is irrevocably established in the heart. So the point here is the ignition happens at a particular time. Like here, the ignition is happening. But from the time the ignition happens, and then it becomes a blazing fire, there is, of course, there is time, one can say, but there are stages of bhakti also separating it. And so we have to stay with the process. So when the spiritual master or the Vaishnavas, they are igniting this fire, then it behooves us to add fuel to the fire, and not water on the fire. So slowly, it is our responsibility to do that, to nurture what we have received. And then the spiritual master continues, the Vaishnavas, they continue to fan the flame by giving it proper oxygen, and then we do our part. And so slowly, this transcendental knowledge, it completely awakens. Like the rising of the sun. As soon as the sun rises in the morning, the first rays of the sun, also just even one ray of the sun dissipates darkness. But then as the sun rises, and when it is in its full glories in the afternoon or evening, it's flooding the whole horizon with sunlight. So similarly, this awakening of transcendental knowledge is a gradual process, because bhakti, is gradual. It's a gradual process. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, two other points. Prabhupada writes in many of his books. So here the mood, the initial mood, when one approaches the spiritual master or the Vaishnava, this humility. So that mood remains. Prabhupada writes, in front of the spiritual master, a disciple is always a fool number one. Not that the disciple is foolish, but that mood of humility remains even as the devotee advances. So sometimes, we get carried away. Initially, we didn't know anything about anything, but somehow or the other, the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, they teach us scriptures, they tell us, what everything is, and we are just actually repeating like parrots what we have heard, and not yet having realized anything. But then we think, oh wow, now I know something. I'm giving the same class, as my Guru Maharaj is giving the class. You know. So there is always this tendency, this chance that that initial humility that one had, one may lose it, because one now thinks falsely that you know I'm doing similar activities as my spiritual master is doing, like that. So this, but the disciple, he has to be very careful. The devotee has to be very careful to always remain in that mood. So this mood does not change. Even when comes to the Paramahamsa platform, in front of his spiritual master, he is always, humble. That. Hmm. Prabhupada was like that. Whenever the whole world would give him credit, he would say, actually, this is not my credit. If there's any credit, I've tried to, execute, I've tried to follow my spiritual master as best as I can. That's my only credit. So he always remained humble, even though he was the world Acharya. Similarly, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Anyway, so this is the hallmark for Vaishnava. So this humility is not circumstantial, it is the essence of the devotee. Hmm. So, so he stays in that position. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. And here Prabhupada also is writing that what is the business of a guru? Hmm. The disciple or the living entity should not be aspiring for material benefits. Similarly, the spiritual master is not interested in giving some material benefit, to the living entity. Of course, he may do that to help the living entity in the grand scheme of things, like how Angira Rishi will mention later on. When initially he came, Maharaj Chitraketu was not ready for the real deal yet. So he gave him a material benediction to have a son. But then, so it fit in the big scheme of things. Like Narada Muni, he gave him a mantra, Dhruva Maharaj, for getting a planet. He gave him a mantra, which seemed like he was fulfilling his material desire. But these Vaishnavas, they are very, very expert. They're very expert in reclaiming the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. Therefore, everyone needs to be enlightened with transcendental knowledge. One who enlightens his disciple and saves him from rotting in the darkness of ignorance in this material world is a true guru. And one other point that I really like here is Angira Rishi and Narada Muni, they are coming. They both come together. Hmm. And in a bit, it's not really mentioned who is speaking. Of course, Prabhupada writes in his purports that they both are instructing King Chitraketu. But then, in a few verses down the line, Angira Rishi is saying, I came earlier, but then you were not ready. And this gentleman that's with me, he is Narada Muni, he is Narada Rishi, the great personality. So it's sweet. Sweet meaning, I was thinking for me personally, uh, it's always wonderful to see, Vaishnavas working together in tandem. Like Prabhu, like even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he instructed Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu to go door to door together and give this message of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada has written many places that a Vaishnava ideally should not preach alone. He should go with other, like Acharya Nishta and Paramakaruna, travel together. So this is beautiful. And here, King Chitraketu, he is mature enough to give credit to both personalities. He is not like saying, Narada Muni, wow, he's a great person, Angira Rishi, not so sure. yeah. So he's saying, both of you, great personalities. Thank you for coming, instructing me. So similarly, in our spiritual life, it's usually never just one person you know, that is taking us back to God. Yeah, there is one. The whole Guru Tattva seminar was there. How Krishna, through his various manifestations, how he reclaims the conditioned soul. So there is, of course, the Diksha Guru, but then there are so many others also who are involved in taking a soul back. So when these personalities that are guiding Vaishnavas, when they work together, when they're able to work together, it's a beautiful sight. You know. This is the Vaikuntha Bhav, basically, where everybody is secure in doing their part to reclaim a conditioned soul. They don't have to do everything. They just have to do their part. We just have to do our part. So they're secure. So I like this part. Similarly, in Brigadi's pastime also, initially Narada Muni comes, but then after his disciple is uplifted, he comes with Parvata Muni. He says, "Let's go check out how Brigadi is doing." So he comes with Parvata Muni, like that. So I find that appealing. Even when we see, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, uh, it's fantastic to have association of one of them. But when you see an entourage, like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them, yeah, it's really fantastic. So that's a personal appreciation that I have from this pastime. Okay, so we'll pause here, and if there is any comments, questions, discussion, Prabhuji, Nityananda Pran.
I have been hearing about and thinking a lot about this very beautiful pastime of Lord Balaram and Romaharshana, where Romaharshana is acting as a guru speaking the Itihasas and Puranas, and Balaram, the Adi Guru, comes. Of course, I'm not going to go through the pastime, but one interesting thing in that is we know the pastime that Lord Balaram takes a blade of grass and kills him. Just like that, touches him and Romaharshana dies. Something I've appreciated is that the grass to me represents humility. So Lord Balaram used humility as the weapon to kill Romaharshana and his pride. And then there is a verse where Lord Balaram says why he did what he did. I mean, it's a very beautiful verse of how Balaram says he's like an actor. So it's described that when one is in character, for the audience, they think that is the personality. But the person who is either the director or someone who's very close to them, they know, oh, this is all acting. What may not be visible to the untamed eye, untrained eye, is clear to the Guru. And so Lord Balaram comes. It's a very super pastime.
Yeah.
So when you were speaking, it helped. When you said that in front of the spiritual master, one is always a fool, regardless of how advanced one may become. So I want to thank you for that.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. Anything else? Which pastime?
I'm not too familiar with that pastime. The whole thing I know pieces, but can you briefly explain what it is? Where Narada Muni save, what is his name?
Brigari?
Brigari from
The hunter?
yeah. Can you briefly narrate kind of the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
thing in a
Okay.
nutshell?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful. Brigari, the Brigari pastime. Yeah. I was sharing. Yeah, yeah. So Brigari was a hunter by profession, by ancestry. That's what his parents did. His father did like that. So that's all he learned, to be a hunter. And so he was living in a forest with his wife, and he would hunt animals. And one thing that was peculiar about Brigari was he would for some reason he would not fully kill the animals. He would half kill the animals. He would make them suffer. The name Brigari also is animal killer or animal hunter. That's the name. And so while Mrigari is doing all this, Narada Muni, he comes, like as this verse is describing, the pure devotees, they are free to go anywhere and everywhere. Out of their own causeless mercy, they come. So Narada Muni, he comes to Mrigari and he sees his condition. And he tricks him. He doesn't say, don't kill the animals. This is not good. He says, why do you half kill the animals? Kill the animals fully. Because when you half kill them, not only, they're going to die a prolonged death. They will suffer, in pain, and then they will eventually die. So you kill them in one go. Don't half kill them. And then he explains that if he half kills them, how all the animals that he has killed so far, he'll have to take birth in a future life, and all these animals, in a similar way, he'll also be dealt with, you know. And so that scares the heck out of Megari. And he says, "Oh." So then he asks, "Is there a way out? What can I do? Because I don't know anything. How will I maintain myself? I only know hunting. That's all I know. I shed the skin of the animals which I sell. I use the flesh. So this is how I survive. Me and my wife. We have no other way." He says, "Sure, I'll tell you a way, but first you have to give up. Give up your bow and arrow." So he has so much faith. He said, "Okay." So the surrender, one can say, this humility, one could say, maybe fear driven. However, he agrees to hear Narada Muni. And Narada Muni says, "Give up your bow and arrow." And he gives up. Whatever he knew, in a way, till that time, gives up. And then he instructs him to chant the holy name. And he says, "You have Tulsi Maharani in your house, you and your wife, chant the holy name." And he says, "I will take care of your necessities." Oh, wow. So he has absolute faith. He has firm faith. And then as he does as he is told. He chants the holy name. He worships Tulsi, he and his wife. And all auspicious qualities, he is decorated with all auspicious qualities. I'm skipping many details. And then, so the villagers nearby, they come to know about the transformation of Mrigari. So they come. They come to take his association. And so when they come to take the association, so as it is customary, when you go to a sadhu, you don't go empty-handed. You take some things. You offer them some things. So they would bring, grains and vegetables and everything. So much so that they had, surplus. That surplus. So they would keep whatever that was required, and they would give others back. So in this way, they were just absorbed in the process of bhakti, both the husband and the wife, like that. And so Narada Muni, one fine day, he, one of his other, brothers, Parvata Muni, says, "Let's go and see how my disciple Mrigari is doing." So they both are coming to the house of Mrigari, to the forest. And as they're coming, so Mrigari, he sees them. And so he's in ecstasy, seeing his spiritual master. So he starts running to, meet his spiritual master. But as he's running, there are some ants on the way. Anyway, so see, as he's running in a zigzag way, like so they're wondering, like, why is he running like that? What's going on? So then, so then they come and they ask him. Oh, however, anyway, so the story is that there were ants on the way as he was running, and he was avoiding them so that he would not step on them and kill them. And so Narada Muni and Parvati Muni, obviously they appreciate it. It's like, wow, look, this person whose profession was, killing animals, he has come to the stage where he would not even hurt an ant. So Parvati Muni, he glorifies Narada Muni's, potency and association. So that's in brief the story. So the transformation of Brigari from this, hunter to a pure devotee, like Valmiki also, he was also like that. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, Acharya Nishta.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
A little further ahead, Angira Muni mentions that King Chitraketu, you're a great devotee of the Lord. So this kind of lamentation is not befitting you. I was wondering if you could, maybe the other devotees are aware, but you could refresh my memory of King Chitraketu, like maybe what dynasty he's coming in, or any background on him, and then also how that relates to him being a devotee, but obviously still overwhelmed so much with this lamentation and this intense desire to have a son. I don't recall the background so much.
Yeah, I also, that verse struck with me as well. There isn't, as far as I know, there isn't any mention of his genealogy. Only thing that is mentioned in the beginning of this chapter is there was a king in the land of Surashena, Maharaj Chitraketu. Um, yeah, this Angira Muni does mention that this does not befit you. You're a great devotee. I read it in different ways. Whether how the pure devotees, the great devotees, like the Uttam Adhikari Vaishnava, they see everybody is a devotee. They see that actually they are not a devotee, but everybody else is a devotee. So that's one way. At least I was looking at it. Uh, uh, and also, anyway, the way that's one. And then from the Shastra, Krishna Prema is there dormant in everybody's heart. Yeah. So anyway, everybody is a devotee. We're all covered devotees. Somebody remembers that they are devotees. Somebody has forgotten they are a devotee. At least this should be our vision. Those that are preaching. Because if we sort of put somebody in a bucket, he's a non-devotee, he's a devotee. All devotees of Krishna, some have forgotten it. Like Prabhupada said, I've not come here to teach you something new. I've come here to remind you what you've forgotten. And then how he receives, Maharaj Chitraketu, how he receives these two great rishis. So obviously, he has great qualities. Yeah. But if I find something specific, I'll let you know. But I didn't. I've not found anything specific. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like yeah, I think what you're asking is Krishna is saying, how have these impurities come upon you, Arjuna, Anari Jushtam? This does not befit you. So of course Arjuna we know. It's a great Pandava. So Acharya Nishta is asking, we know Vitrasura is Chitraketu, but who is Chitraketu? Is there something behind Chitraketu? Thank you for your question. Okay, yeah. hmm
So Mugari, how do you say his name?
Rigari.
Mugari. So he was a sinful hunter and got the mercy of Narada Muni, somehow or other. And so sometimes we feel like in the past I've done so many sinful activities, or people I've met, people, this happening with probably every one of us actually. We feel like we're so sinful. I remember discussing, having a conversation that that keeps you actually away from the temple because you feel like people would judge you and criticize you. So how you go about, approaching someone who has that feeling where this is actually like a hospital, it's for sick people actually. So how do you go approaching that where they feel like, I don't deserve the mercy, I shouldn't even be here,
Good question. You can refer to Prabhupada's story, right? Big pen, which Indradanda Maharaj talks about in his memories of Prabhupada. There was this personality who was like really absolutely living in in bushes and really foul and so on and so forth. Uh, anyway, skipping many details, but you can hear about it. So somehow the devotees invited him to the temple, or he came to the temple, but it was like some were able to see like Prabhupada saw, that here is this person. He doesn't look yet like a devotee. He doesn't act like a devotee yet, but with some prasadam and some kirtan, he'll manifest his qualities. So some devotees in the temple were losing patience, and, but then Prabhupada, he insisted that no, so you tolerate whatever is your nonsense, you tolerate it, and then apparently that devotee became a great devotee, right? Kushakrat, I don't know the name, but a devotee who, yeah, yeah, who translated Goswami literature. Wow, he translated and wrote commentary on Goswami literature. Huh? Yeah, yeah, Sanskrit. Yeah, Mukham Karoti Vashalam Pungum Langayati Girim. Yeah. So that was Prabhupada, Uh, so in a practical situation, at least for us, what we could do perhaps is, um, because as you're saying, like let's say you invite such a personality to the temple. In the temple, there are like besides there are protection issues and so many other things. So there may be issues. Everybody may not be able to see as you see or others, as Prabhupada saw. So in some cases, there may have to be like an incubation chamber. You or some group of give that person some association, and so you bring and take association in the temple. Not so we should not shun them to a certain position where they can come into a wider sangha of devotees. This is a principle. Anyway, not just whether somebody is. I think this is just a principle we apply even otherwise. Before we like, there's a new person. So initially you cultivate them, right? You usually cultivate. I'm saying initially when you come in contact with the person, you cultivate them one on one initially, some amount of time. You give them association, prasadam, so on and so forth. And then when they are a little mature and so on and so forth, where they can take other devotees can properly, see them, then you bring them to, a wider audience. So we have to make that call, but always not, shunning anyone. This is not our movement, because if somebody shunned us, we would not be here. If that's how we were dealt, we would not be here. Yeah, yeah. Because not everybody, yeah, somebody will judge, and then as you're saying, and if they feel judgment, then they may not come back. Yeah. But again, the important thing here is ultimately in the end, like Mother Teresa's prayer, in the end result, it's between them and God. You follow? So it's almost even these judgments and so on and so forth. It can be like an excuse to keep us away from God. you know, the Supreme Lord is all merciful. You know. Uh, so anyway, so why people? We should take some responsibility. Let's say, for some persons not becoming Krishna conscious, even when they're given a chance, but we cannot take the entire responsibility. It's something between them and God that's still not worked out. So like that. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.